Mm, mm, mm.
Oh,
We
that
roll.
red light is on. We're
Yep.
rolling, huh?
Yep.
Brother here,
Yes, sir.
did you know that the United States Championship is more than just gold? It's one of the most important championships in any wrestling company's history.
Mm,
Its influence is not only for the men who held it, but it actually led to the creation of a new modern counterpart, the WWE Women's United States Championship. From legends who've carried it to those unforgettable moments
hmm
that made us have, those memories that we must have that belt. Let's look at why this title is more important than just a piece of gold. Let's get to it.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, brother, here it's Tuesday, so you know what that means. Welcome, 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 welcome to season 3 of Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy. He is none other than H to the A to the S to the T to the H to the E, 3 to the R to the D as the third. And remember, every belt has a story. How you feeling today, brother? Here,
I'm cooling. I'm gonna make it work.
you're
I'm gonna
making it
make it
work.
work. Yeah.
I'm looking very studious. And look, I take my glasses off for the show. He puts his
Look,
on.
bro.
Uh
Look,
oh,
bro.
this must mean it's important today.
Nah, that just means I'm blind as hell.
You're supposed to be like, yes. You had to do some. You had to go deep into the depths of research for this show because this show is going to be a special one. On the heels of Veterans Day, where we want to honor those who have served. On the heels of when the WWE announces their second, I'm sorry, was it technically the second or would it be the third mid card championship for the women? Because you can count the Speed Championship maybe,
I
but
forgot that was a thing. So let's go
we're gonna
second.
call it a second. Second. So with the introduction of the North American title and now the United States Women's Championship, the Women's United States Championship, um, it's more important than just to say, let's talk about this legacy of this belt. Now, in former shows, Star Strikes and Slams, we went through the entire history of the United States title. And it was some things that we didn't touch on because we just wanted to give the people history, right? But
hmm
before we dive into this conversation, let's talk just a little bit about the history. Just when I say a little, because at championship culture, we like to let people know where we come from, where we're going, and where maybe we might be, what did WWE say? Then, now, and forever.
Right.
So remember, the United States Championship origins go all the way back to the NWA, pre WCW days, but when it was the NWA, right? The United
Yep.
States Heavyweight Championship was first created by the National Wrestling Alliance all the way back in 1975.
Yep.
It was initially defended with the Mid Atlantic Championship, and it was a regional championship for that promotion because we had a lot of territories. When Jim Crockett Promotions took over the Mid Atlantic Wrestling in the U.S. and they, started to form the WCW, that's when it transitioned to WCW. A lot of people probably remember the lineage of it being under Ted Turner, under World Championship Wrestling, because the United States Champion was brought under that banner from the NWA. And throughout the 90s, it was one of those belts that seemed to be always held by future legends, as we call them today, like Sting, Lex Luger, Bret Hart. And in WCW, it served as like a secondary title, almost kind of on line with how the Intercontinental title was for the WWE.
hmm
But then in 2001, WCW was no more. WWE purchased it, and then they brought that over as part of the Invasion storyline. We know how that went. WWE stars now is holding WCW belts. We keep on going after the storyline and Invasion. They start merging belts together. It was merged with the Intercontinental title. We know what happened with the Intercontinental title. And then it was reintroduced. It took it about 2 year hiatus, but then it came back, right?
Yes, it
But
did.
when it came back with a facelift. And
Did
this
it?
was the belt. Yeah, it came back with a facelift.
hmm
And as we talk about this, it came back in a different sense because now it was properly a SmackDown, then later Raw, and it serves as a stepping stone for many wrestlers that we are cheering today. A lot of wrestlers that we are really realizing that without this belt, their legacy may not be intact, right?
That's
And
correct.
it represents like a patriotic aspiration of a spirit of with the WWE because always one show had the Intercontinental, but then this belt when it was revived, it kind of had that legacy and that lineage behind it. So, what makes the United States Championship, the WWE version, we're gonna stick with this version, right?
Hmm.
One of the most iconic within WWE history. And we always can talk about history is still going, but 2001 to 2024 when it was brought over, right? That's a lot of time. 23 years, right? What makes
Hmm.
this one of the most iconic belts in its history?
But the fact that it's still alive, still going around, that's one thing right there, right off top. Um, it lasted the test of time. Many eras, many people have held it. Many people made it feel prestigious, made it feel like something. There was a period in time when the U.S. title was kind of lackluster. That division was kind of lackluster for a second, but it was rebuilt by one Mr. John Cena.
Oh,
When he started the Open Challenges. So I mean, overall,
and
it's
this was
just
later his career too,
yeah.
because
This
this
was
was in
later.
2015. This
This
was
was his
like his
second run, right?
third or fourth, yeah, his second run with the belt, but like
But
his third or fourth title reign. And he
yeah,
started the U.S. Challenge, and the U.S. Challenge was supposed to bring eyes to the WWE because now you had a bona fide main eventer, the face of the company holding the secondary title, a title to help propel his career. And
yeah,
this is during the U.S. Open Challenge. He was saying the champ is here. Dr. Thugonomics had three reigns with it, made it spin. He he had some good matches early on, but people really started to pay attention to it during this time, right?
that's when
Because
he had that little shirt, the shirt with the belt on it.
the belt at the bottom, this
Yeah,
was just at the
man.
bottom of it.
Right. Crazy looking shirt.
It's crazy because you remember that, but then remember that's how we got introduced to people like a Sami Zayn. That's how we got introduced to a Kevin Owens. All of these
Dean
superstars
Ambrose,
that
all of them. Hmm.
we got introduced to them, right? And that legacy, it gives you those memorable moments and those memorable matches, right? Because remember, at the end of when I think he wrestled Cesaro, they, kayfabe or whatever you want to call it, after the match was over, he gave Cesaro his flowers, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. Why do you think the U.S. title became almost like a symbol for, I don't want to say patriotism or like a resilient thing where it's like people are like, this represents the United States because we can look at other companies like New Japan, they have a United States championship, and we're thinking it's only going to be defended in the United States. Other places have, national championships like NWA, but we had an Intercontinental and a U.S. title, right?
Hmm.
And it seemed like that belt, because it looked like a flag, it had the symbolism. We could break down the sides of the Statue of Liberty, everything about it. Why do you think this was kind of like I don't want to say American championship? What made that feel that way besides the belt being plastered all over it?
I would probably have to say just WWE in general is the major territory right now. You want to take it back to the old school days, you had your different territories. The U.S. title was one of the most prestigious titles at that point in time. Starting in NWA, going up through WCW, now making its way to WWE, and it's starting to gain momentum now with LA Knight, and then with the introduction of the women's title. So I mean, I would say overall, yeah, um, yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, that's all I got for you, man. Like that's to be honest, yeah.
Because it felt like it became more than just a secondary title. It seemed like
It
it
did for a
was
while.
like a
It had
spirit.
its up and downs for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah.
and it all depends on who had it, right? And
Hmm.
then it's crazy because when you talk about the legacy that spans across multiple wrestling organizations, the
Hmm.
Intercontinental title was always with WWE, but this went from NWA, WCW, and WWF, right?
Yeah.
It makes the title more recognizable because if you see this version, you automatically knew it's the United States. You know what I mean? When you looked at the WCW version, and I can grab it, it was more gold. It seemed like it was more of like the secondary title. This felt like, all right, what is the story behind it? Because every belt has a story, right? So it
Hmm.
was always like Now we got to put on those matches. We got to put up or shut up so that way they know it. And what made it so important, and before we get to that, I got to address this because look who's there. I'm waiting for him to throw something out there, right? Welcome,
Yeah.
Justin. Now, here, which one of the sides of the ring is it? Is it your
And
favorite?
you already know. He said
It's
it.
your
He
it's your
said it right
birthday
there.
twin?
He said
Oh, did
he said what did he say? It's the next comment.
is that a new colorway? No,
See?
that's a show them. That's one of the exclusive ones for you, isn't it? Yeah, that was an
Sure.
exclusive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that was
was.
exclusive. Now we're gonna get to this U.S. spinner because I
Oh, she
I'm
is
a
back
big
there.
fan.
Yep. Look at
Yeah,
her.
you see it right there. I had to tilt it up.
Mm-hmm.
That U.S. spinner though, you could tell that was a custom belt just for Cena because as soon as he lost it, we reverted back to this design, right?
Right.
Um, John Cena got to easily be the top three U.S. champions of all time. Hmm. Hmm. And from our friends in Bells and Belts, what's going on now? Here's the question. Let's see who that
What it
is because
did.
it's a couple of them, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
couple of them. So we're going to see if we can figure out context clues which one it is from Bells and Belts. But when you talk about the importance of it, right? Because
Yeah.
Justin said John Cena got to easily be the top three U.S. champion. You cannot forget Eddie Guerrero won the title in 2003 when it was reactivated, right?
Yep. Vengeance
And
versus that guy.
and that guy, right? We're going to just say that. Here's the thing that got it. That, granted, he had the belt upside downwards,
Yeah.
but it was
Right.
a good, it was a good point for him, right? And that's where we got to. I think one of Eddie Guerrero's most favorite times because he was able to take on that lie, cheating, steal persona that we all loved. We all paid attention to. We wanted to see what creative ways he was going to do things. It was so cool to see him do this, right? And
Yep.
it bridged the gap between what the WCW version was and what the WWE version is going to be now. It's bringing eyes to that product. We knew how good um, Eddie Guerrero was, but now it's like a new layer to him, a new excitement, a new thing that we were all looking for, right? And
Real
look,
quick, he answered the question.
yeah,
It's my fellow Canaanite.
yeah, it's your spirit animal. That's what we're gonna call him. Remember?
Yeah.
That's just. Um, side note: how y'all feel about all these versions of Kane coming out?
Hey man, it's let them do their thing. Let them do their
Okay,
thing.
so I'm asking people in the comments: was Eddie Guerrero the right person to bring this title back to life? I'm gonna give you my answer. Absolutely. I don't think it was anybody else on the roster that would have that much charisma, that appeal, that could take this title and establish it and say, "Hey, here we are."
Right.
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 So I'm gonna see if they can answer the comments, but I'm gonna ask you something. Cena's 2004 run and his 2015 reigns. What made him famous, right? Of course, he was
Mm-hmm.
WWE champion, made him famous, but his 2004, we start paying attention to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it if it wasn't for anything, just because he was rapping and he made the belt spin,
Right.
new look on it, right?
Right.
But in 2015, you talked about that U.S. Open Challenge, and it was a weekly thing, kind of like what they used to do with like it was a television title and you were focused on television,
Yeah.
but it made the belt feel like it was main event worthy. You wanted to see who would be the next person. You wanted to
Yeah.
see what young talent he's going up against, right?
Right.
We even had Owens bring a fresh energy to it when he was talking about, the face of America. But his feuds with Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, they entertained and helped a position where I wanted to see that more than the world title. I remember some of those moments more than anything else. Even when AJ Styles and him were trading it off on the house shows, it was like, oh, I gotta pay attention because anything can happen, right?
Right.
And they were almost like main events of the storyline. We could talk about who was champion at the time and why they made this feel more important. But to Dwayne's guy, AJ Styles, three different times, three different important reigns, and it was memorable matches because this, think about it, a TNA guy able to hold this belt. He had made himself to WWE. He had became a WWE star. Three different times he was involved in several um, high profile feuds. Of course, Kevin Owens was probably the one that comes to mind first. But even when he was holding that belt, it felt like that was the most important thing. And I feel like at times this belt kind of surpassed what you wanted to see for the Intercontinental, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think this belt became more important than the Intercontinental?
because of the people that carried it. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
start from the top. We went from Eddie Guerrero. We
Mm-hmm.
started with Eddie Guerrero. We came down and we went to John Cena one time, and then he came back a couple years later, 2015, and really made it relevant again because that was that point in time. It was a couple of years where that U.S. title was falling off the map. The prestige of it was leaving. It was devalued for a while. But when John Cena brought it back, and he did the Open Challenge in 2015, he made it special because, like you said, he was the top guy. Literally, this is the top guy. This is your face of your product. Fresh off
Selling
of a
T-shirts,
WWE
printing
champ.
money.
Yeah, doing everything. Getting ready to start the movies and all that extra stuff. This is your top guy. He takes a step back and say, look, I'm gonna go elevate this mid card title, this mid division. And that's exactly what he did. John Cena at the time wasn't known for putting people over. You got to
But
remember that
remember,
too.
he had that one person in between that I think, because remember, did you go to the show when the Big Show won the belt? Remember, that was here in Baltimore. Because remember, Big Show took it off Eddie, and
Yeah,
then he lost it to Cena at Mania, right? And that was
I
the
missed that.
celeb.
Yeah.
Okay, but then remember, Cena had it. Then it went to our icon Booker T, back to Cena. Carlito
Mm-hmm.
stabbed him. John Cena.
Right.
Orlando Jordan got it because Cena was going for the WWE Championship. And this all happened in the course of what, 2 years that all of this happened? It was like it went from this ruthless aggression to a rapper to a we're getting behind this guy. He's
Right.
cool.
Right.
In a short amount of time to the point that you're like, okay. And I think what helped it make it so iconic is because we got those best of seven series between Booker T and his opponent. We got JBL in the second part of his, well, actually the third part, fourth part, the latter part of his career, getting it, and then it was like, up, introduce Bobby Lashley,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is where my favorite point of the United States title is when I'm gonna just read you some names where it changed in less than like a month's time. Went from Bobby Lashley, Finley, Mr. Kennedy, um, name who will remain nameless, MVP, Matt Hardy, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, Kofi, Miz, Bret Hart. Now, this is the older Bret Hart
He
that during the
definitely did say Bret
storyline he
Hart.
came back.
Yeah.
I did. But look at those names, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had all of these names in a short amount of time establish themselves, show the dominance, show that I'm here. I hate to use a pun, I came to play, but they really did, right? And we didn't get to hear yet. Watch how he perks up when we get to this point. Because we're gonna get there, I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a question for you, brother, here. And let me see if you're ready. You ready?
Pro- Probably not, but let's go.
All right. How did this title contribute to the development of these stars?
How did it? Oh my gosh. Okay. See, there you go with the hard
Because
questions. There you go.
because we're the
I,
MVP.
I
Matt
told you
Hart,
about
bona
this
fide
earlier.
MVP. MVP was a brand new star, right?
Right. He
Montel
held it for
Barthé was
what? For
40.
like almost 300 days or so.
Yeah, 360 some days, right? But
Yeah.
we had Kofi. We had seen.
Uh-huh.
You remember this was during that ECW New Superstar Initiative. Shelton Benjamin, who had broke away from his world's greatest tag team. Um, Mr. Kennedy, who was, just appeared. Finley,
Mm-hmm.
bona fide veteran that was just coming out there entertaining the kids. We were in Shillelagh and all that stuff, but it started becoming a thing. So I'm going to ask you this again, and let me know when you're ready. All right. Here's the question: how did the U.S. title contribute to the development of these WWE stars?
Well, you name guys like Mr. Kennedy and Finley. Those are guys that if you look at the roster, 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna pick those guys to be champions, like mid card workhorse champions. Like if you look at it, basically what I'm getting to is that title gave guys like that the opportunity to show what they show their worth, basically what they're made of. Mr. Kennedy, he was misused. He had some issues, whatever and whatnot, but he was definitely on his way to being a bona fide star, right?
Mm-hmm.
It acted as if like we say this about the IC title all the time. That's your workhorse title. Like back in the day when Macho had it, that was it seemed more important than the heavyweight title at times, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
Hogan had it, right? Because you had guys like Macho and Steamboat going back and forth with it and putting on amazing matches. So this at that time it allowed people for like your Miz. He won it what 2009 for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Became what triple champion because he was a tag
Okay, yeah,
team,
that and the
WWE
tag
tag team, world tag team, and yeah.
in the
So like
United States.
you had guys like that who were up and comers who had an opportunity to show what they can do in the ring and have a title on them and just build their character as they go along. Because you didn't really have development at that time, right? Like you didn't have like
You
a
had
full blown
OVW.
NXT. You had
You had
OVW. Come on,
OVW.
let's be FCW. Come on, bro. Let's be real. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that was them learning on the job, right? Your Kofis, your Dolph Zigglers, those guys. So
Carlito definitely came from a wrestling
yeah, I forgot about
family,
Carlito. Right.
the Coleons, right?
It was a
Big in
chance for them to
Memphis.
showcase themselves. Yep.
He
Yep.
came in, was a heel to the cool John Cena, and I'm just gonna say that he stabbed him because I feel like that's
Yeah.
what I remember from that storyline, and it
That's it.
definitely it definitely took us to a pay attention to these matches because all we knew was Bobby Lashley was a Vince molded type of guy, big old muscle guy, big old jack guy, and it's like, all right, what is he gonna do? But then you
Hmm.
had that veteran like Finley. Then you had, Mr. Kennedy, MVP, clearly brand new star coming into the company. What better way to put him in the limelight and let him have that 300 and I think it was three. I feel like it's 360. I wish we had Dylan, but I'm pretty sure Justin will fact check me. I feel like it was a year reign, but then the vet that established himself to get the title dethroned him, Matt Hardy. And then that's where it was toying between everything. Then you had the gold standard come
Hmm.
about. Then we had the Kofi, the Miz, the Brett, right?
Yeah.
Then we had our favorite, our truth,
It's
the
343.
Miz. Oh, it was 343. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't know why is 360 in my head with film. It
I
was
don't know.
just shy of a year. Okay.
Hmm.
So before we get to the Miz, I want to talk about. Well, no, let's jump to the Miz because this is going to tell you how important it was. Do you remember? Do you remember what made us really pay attention to Daniel Bryan? We knew Brian Danielson from ROH. But what point is two things that made us really pay attention to Daniel Bryan? And I'm gonna give you one. During the Nexus debut, what he did, because that's all people can talk about, right? But
Yeah.
what was the second thing?
For Daniel Bryan, it had to be that the U.S. title win.
It
Was it
made us pay
2010?
him attention. Yep. It made us pay attention to him. And you know why? It was September 19th, 2010, because he defeated his mentor from NXT, remember?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that was the whole storyline. He got that iconic win, and that felt like, all right, this is somebody that we're going to get behind. This is somebody we're going to watch because that story shaped. I'm not only going to beat you, but I'm going to take this title from you because you're talking about you're awesome, you're this, you're better than me. Yeah, I'm an indie guy. I've wrestled in these gymnasiums with 15 people, but I'm here now, and watch what I'm going to do. And this is before we got long hair, planet fighting Daniel Bryan. This is who we need to pay attention to, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
it still made an impact for the wrestling, the storytelling, and a lot of times this is the must see TV. This is
Long
what you
term
want to see.
storytelling. Term.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Because the Miz got it in June, and he started messing with Daniel. I think like in July or so. Didn't it
Yeah.
go all the way to Night of Champions when he actually won it, right?
Right.
But then, of course, dethroned by Sheamus. Whoopie do. But I will tell you this: I was happy when Kofi dethroned Sheamus because I don't think we saw that coming, did we?
Mm-mm, not at all. Not beating
Right.
Sheamus, a guy like that. Nah.
So now let's get into your guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Who took it off of him? Capital Punishment, baby. 2011. Let's go.
So we can talk about Kofi and Dolph Ziggler rivalries because they translated from the U.S. title to the Intercontinental title, right? But I
Yep.
feel like both stand out. But I feel like it was a different because this was short hair Dolph Ziggler. Was he
Yeah.
wearing black boots at the time? I think he was
No.
wearing black boots. Or was he in the white boots yet?
He might have been.
Okay.
He might have been. It depends on if he was wearing the silver, then he was in the white boots.
But this is short hair Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah,
Short
yeah,
hair
for
Dolph
sure.
Ziggler had a little bit more grit to him. He was still selling. He was still stealing the show. But him and Kofi, that match in DC, I remember watching this saying, why can't we get more of that? It felt
Hmm.
like those two were perfect dance partners. And it
Yep,
felt like if it wasn't for that title, I don't think we would have got these good Intercontinental title matches or vice versa. Because they seem like they just flowed very well with each other, right?
yeah.
And now, Judgment Day '07 to Backlash '08. What part was that, Justin? I missed that. I think that's when the MVP reign was. Dang, was it that long? It was
Yeah.
almost a year because Backlash
340.
is usually after Mania. Yeah. Okay. So now you talk about patriotism when you look at this belt, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember. Dolph Ziggler lost the to our guy Zack Ryder here in Baltimore, right? And I know you was
Sure
a little
did.
upset.
I was.
I was so happy I even brought the headband that said, let's see, say Zack Ryder. And when I met him, he signed it, right?
Hmm.
Wanted here in Baltimore, one of the biggest moments of, and I'm gonna just say probably of his career, because it was his first singles title. It was the first time he really was like given something, but he had to chase it. That whole storyline of him not being able to defeat Ziggler helped, I think, appreciate who Zack Ryder is as he became Mike
Absolutely.
Cardona, right?
Right.
But we didn't get to keep good things long because Jack Swagger got it. Then we started hot potatoing again. Santino, Cesaro, Kofi, Dean, Sheamus, and now we land on Rusev, right?
Hmm.
So Rusev reign, he went undefeated, and it
Yep.
established him as one of the top heels, but for a mid card title, which was insane to me. November 3rd, 2014, at was it Raw? It was Raw, right? In Buffalo, New
Hmm.
York. He defeated Sheamus, which nobody expected. It was real random. It was like, oh, he actually beat Sheamus. Because remember, this is Alexander Rusev from NXT that came up. And we're like, okay. He defeats Sheamus, held it for 146 days. And he was presented like this is kind of like how I don't want to compare it to New Day, but I'm not as a New Day to wrestler, but like what we're seeing now. Kind of how Jacob Fatu is being portrayed as this unstoppable force.
Hmm.
Rusev was doing that. Kind of what he did with the TNT title as Miro in AEW, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
you had people like Jack Swagger, who, was talking about we the people and everything like that, but it was going against the Bulgarian Brute. I remember these because that was the storyline. It was almost like they were trying to rehash a Iron Sheik type
There it is.
gimmick, mean
It,
against, you know,
they
let's
took it back
bash
to the
this
old
because
school, the
how
80s.
ironic, I'm the United States champion, but I'm
The
under
dom,
Bulgarian Brute.
yeah, the dominant foreigner taking over. Right.
And Rusev Crush, everything sounded like something Russian related. It was like, oh, this is some good stories, right? And then
Right.
we got our hero of Jack Swagger talking about we the people. He had the little thing on his chest. He was really trying, right?
Right.
And couldn't be stopped. Then we had, oh, bring on Mr. I turn on everybody 746 times, Big Show, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it showed I can defeat anybody. And what Rusev slash Miro has been able to do, he defeats those people, he finds a way. Then he even beat the world's strongest man. And it
Yep.
was like, okay, who could really stop this guy? If our hero Jack Swagger talking about we the people, right?
Right.
If the brute, if the Big Show couldn't do it, Mark Henry, da 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 da, as Dwayne would say, guess who comes in to save us? And this is what ushered in this next wave for John Cena, Super Cena,
Captain
and
America.
Captain. Yeah, no, he's actually Peacemaker in the
Oh
DC
yeah, my bad. You're
universe.
right. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. You've been.
but it's
Yeah.
okay.
I
It,
apologize.
it works. Rusev was this major villain, and the rivalry came all the way to WrestleMania 31. Dude, do you remember what happened at WrestleMania 31?
The
Bingo.
man. The man came through in a tank.
Let's talk about this. How is it that the United States champion, not the WWE, not the Universal, not the World Champion, not the Tag Team Champions, not the Intercontinental. No matter, it was World Champion at that time in 15, right? Yeah.
Right.
Um, but nobody had an entrance like this. An actual tank. If that ain't saying, look at me, I am the biggest heel in this company, and I am the United States champion. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I done destroyed everybody on the roster except for Super Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Did this live up to the hype?
That match? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That whole rivalry that they had, it definitely lived up to it. Like we expect John Cena to come and be Mr. Superhero and save it, the WWE. Because like you said, they took it back to the old school. The '80s. They alluded to like the old foreign bad guys coming and just dominating and taking over and running the industry. And then you got who was it back in the day? Mr. Hogan, right? Like he comes in, saves the day. Or Lex Luger, he comes in, saves the day, right? Of course, we knew it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. I think Rusev should have won, but like I said, it's John Cena. That's the face. That's your face, right? And you see what he did after that. After he got the title, right? Once again, we're going right back to the open challenge and help continue to build and elevate that championship from what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. And then we can argue that Cena was going to put over Seth as their double champion, set the dominance, or whatever it may be, right? But then Cena got it right back just to give it back to steal a phrase from the Four Sides of the Ring, notable prick Alberto Del Rio.
Oh
But
yeah,
I was okay that Alberto won it because our next favorite, Kalisto, came. You know, but then it was they traded off Kalisto, Alberto, Kalisto. Then Rusev got it, and it felt like it was flat at this point because after that major run that he had as that dominant heel, that dominant, oh, we don't want you, and now we get Rusev again. I'm like, it's not the same.
this is not Rusev Day, right? Rusev, is it?
Was this
Because didn't he
Rusev
have
Day one?
didn't he have another one before? Like Rusev's Day was the last one, right? The last
Yeah,
reign.
in the
How
very
many
last
reigns?
one day.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think this might have been no. I think this no. I don't. Yeah, it was the very last one because that was closer to when he left. That was
right,
before the pandemic when he had Rusev Day because what you
right,
call it would come out and announce him. But you had all of this happen, right?
right.
And Rusev got the second reign. It kind of fell kind of flat. And then even with our pre-tribal chief Roman Reigns, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho. What? Okay, I'm gonna give you my Jerichoholic spiel. This isn't in the script. I'm just saying this.
Oh, here we
Whenever
go.
Jericho gets a title, not nowadays, but back then, he made you pay attention to him. Just the
Mm-hmm.
way he carried it, the list of Jericho, he made it feel like this is an important deal. And
He
when
did.
Kevin Owens turned on him, as Kevin Owens do, it felt like, oh, this is serious. And it always gets these ebbs and flows because let's call it what it is. Rusev first run to his second, night and day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we move on. We talked about AJ Styles. We talked about that. Now we start to see, a
Real
Barrett,
quick, that Kevin Owens and Jericho bit was amazing too.
the
And it's
Festival of Friendship.
yeah, it's a shame that they didn't get to fight for the Universal title like they were supposed to at Mania. But
Hmm.
I mean, I guess as a consolation prize, they fought for the United States Championship. But
But it would have been better for the
yeah,
Universal.
right, right. But just the debut of Kevin Owens as an NXT champion coming through in the open challenge, and first of all, he beat John Cena clean at a
And he
PLE.
stepped on the title. He stepped on this title,
Yes,
remember?
clean.
And held the NXT title up and stepped on the United States title.
Right. You
I
talk
feel like
about
that.
you talking about making a statement. You talking about somebody getting put over. KO came in and did it right off top,
Hmm.
and
And
he
then
mhm.
you give him AJ Styles on that next run as his dad's partner, who, hey, let's call it AJ's
You
not
can,
going to have a bad match with
I
anybody.
was about to say you can't go wrong with AJ, bro. You can't.
Because look what he did for Baron Corbin. He dropped the title to Corbin. And of course, Corbin had to drop it to long hair Ziggler this time.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
we started the weird. It was another weird time, but this
Oh,
is
hold on,
still
hold on.
important to.
Before we go there, this is one of my memories, bro. One of the most memorable things that I've heard. When Ziggler won that title, I was happy, of course. He
Mhm.
came out a week later talking all this smack, talking about y'all don't deserve me, this, that, whatever, whatever. He laid the title on the ground and vacated. The dude disappeared. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
Did some
What are
comedy
you doing?
shows. He did
What are
some
you
comedy
doing?
shows,
Right.
but
He
that's what I'm
returned that.
saying.
He returned
It
that
was,
Royal Rumble.
but look
Number
what it did.
30.
It made you pay attention
It
to this
did though.
title, didn't
It
it?
did.
It made
It
you pay
did.
attention because he had that storyline. He had to get it. He wanted it. He said, "Y'all don't deserve me," and set it
Right.
in the ring, basically, right? So now
Yep.
we're sitting here like, wait a minute, what is happening? Wait a minute, I'm so confused. Like, you did all that to get the title that meant so much because we were coming off of the Kevin Owens and AJ style high. Baron Corbin upset us because in the days, had been kicked out and he beat out AJ Styles, who had just had this great exchange with Kevin. And now you're like, you did all that for what? And it made us pay attention.
That's because he wanted to let everybody know that he can do it. That's what it
And then you can
was.
take this belt.
Yeah, I don't want it. It's nothing to me. I'm that
So
good.
Justice says Jericho versus Owen went from being penciled in as WrestleMania main event for the Universal title to second on the card for the for the Universal title, and second on the card for the US title. AJ and Shane shut it down. Good old VKM. We're not gonna say his name because last time I what you call it did fizz out. But we're gonna get to it because I want to get to the announcement that WWE made on Friday because
Hmm.
that's what really. And I'm gonna bring these points home as to why this is more than gold and why this is the probably it's so the United States title is important to WWE, right? It
Hmm.
was so important. You had former, and I'm gonna say this: if you are a WWE world champion and NXT champion, in my mind, you are that champion of that division. So you had different champions, and Bobby Roode, who was a former NXT champion, get this title. Granted, it was a short reign, but he had it. He dropped it to Randy Orton. Randy dropped it to his best friend Jinder. Jinder, for some
Right.
reason, held it for a week so um, Jeff Hardy could take it from him. And then Shinsuke said it's the
There it is.
United States of Nakamura, right? That's definitely what happened because now when I talk about it, it has these moments where it was hot shotted, but I think it was hot shotted for a reason. They
This was a
probably
heel
forgot,
Shinsuke too.
yeah, and they probably
That's
forgot
that's
that.
that's
Oh
when he was
shoot,
going
we
around hitting
need to,
people in the nuts.
yeah. And look, they probably forgot. Oh, we need the U.S. title on SmackDown, not on Raw. Hold on, get it
Right.
back over here to these shows because it definitely was bouncing during the draft, right?
Yeah.
And so Shinsuke, then this is when Rusev Day happened, and everybody
Right.
was happy. But then guess what? Shinsuke got it back, and for some odd reason, we got R-Truth in the mix. And then here comes some of my favorite part. And I know the realness is going to agree with this. Samoa Joe,
Oh
former
boy.
champion everywhere, right?
Yep.
Then Rey Mysterio, Hall of Famer, Samoa
Hmm.
Joe, and then Ricochet, who I had the most hope for because what he did with the North American title, I thought it was going to translate over to the United States.
Right.
But little do you know, we had a short reign because AJ had to come save it. Because AJ and Ray to Andrade, and then Apollo Crews out of nowhere during the pandemic said, "Hey guys, I'm here. Remember me? I can wrestle." They pulled me up from NXT. I guess I got to do something now, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is, it was good because we introduced these NXT former world champions to this. Well, Ricochet was a North American champion to this belt and put some odds on them as a champion. Because now, think about it. If I was a former world champion or WWE champion and I went to the Intercontinental title, that wasn't a step down. It was a step in the right direction. It's adding to my legacy. It's adding to it. And this United States title was for some of these guys that same title. Because when Andrade got it, it meant something. Yes, he was a former NXT world champion, right? But
Right.
guess what? Look what I've done. Look what I did, right? And even so, even to the point, Bobby Lashley said, I'm going to get a second run with it. Granted, he lost to the Riddle in that triple threat. Then Sheamus got another run. Damian Priest, and I know we talked about this. Damian Priest, Finn Balor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Austin Theory, Bobby Roode. I'm sorry, Bobby Lashley again, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, all of that stuff. Ray, Logan Paul, LA Knight, right? All caught up with everything, right? But what I want to talk about is what impact has the wrestlers had on this belt specifically? Because we could talk about everybody that held it, but you can't talk about the United States title without mentioning certain people. And I'm going to give you one Kofi Kingston. 3 times with that, right? First time
Mm-hmm.
in 2009, defeating MVP. It established him as a exciting mid card. And this would be for the tag team reign, right? High
Right.
fly, energetic. That's what this title, he impacted this title because now that legacy of Kofi single run is attached to that. Yes, if you take that away, will we still have gotten the New Day Kofi or the WWE Championship? Maybe. Dolph Ziggler, even though he had a choice, first ring was short hair, second ring was let me sit it down there, but we paid attention to that ring. He impacted, right? He made it so that you knew what was going on, right? He
Mm-hmm.
made it so this is a memorable moment that everybody's going to talk about. When I left this belt, I did all of this to fight, kick, and claw to get it, and I left it in the ring. The Miz, we talked about with Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, because if you want a good match, go watch him and Sami Zayn fight for this title. It brought, oh, Cesaro is really that daggone good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, when you say names like that, this might be the belt, and this is the question: is this the belt that the wrestler has impacted this legacy more than the belt impacting the wrestler's legacy?
Is it the belt? Um, I agree with you. Like the wrestlers do impact that. They do make that title. That's what we say all the time. Anyway, the wrestler makes that title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say in this situation, yes, all of those guys, the Cesaro, he was a hell of a wrestler, technician in the ring, pure strength. He made that title what it was for him. Then you had guys like Kofi, very energetic, happy. The crowd loved him. You see what I'm saying? Like he brought something to that title. And then you have your
And
Miz.
he used to
He
always carry it like this.
Yeah,
Remember, he would come on be
right,
and
right.
jumping with it like this.
And then you got a Miz, somebody that you can't stand. He looks like a frog in the face. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, that's the way he used to look. And I'm like, bruh, I cannot stand this guy. But he made that title what it was because you hated him so much. He's similar to what Dom Mysterio is now. You don't like him, like you have no choice but to like him because he's so good at what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it, all those guys, Rusev, the dominant run, Ziggler, like all those guys, they made that title what it was or what it is today. To be honest, John Cena, you can't go by without saying him. Like they made that title.
I purposely didn't say this because this is one of the, and this is probably something
Yeah,
you want to clip off. I didn't like this run because I felt like he was just holding the belt. Didn't defend it, didn't do anything of note.
he
He was
didn't.
in the Money in the Bank ladder match that we went to in Philly. He didn't do anything. I think it was just like because Roman and Seth had the tag belt, we had to give him something. Hold on to this. It really wasn't
Who won that
a
title
moment of
first?
note.
I
Uh,
thought Dean win first.
I think he did. I feel like
I
he did.
think
We might have to
I
fact
think he
check it.
did because then that's what remember I said before in the previous show. I thought that Dean was going to be the breakout star at one point in time because that's the way he was being presented as
Because he had it
the
first.
leader. You see what I'm saying? But yeah,
Yeah, because he had it for 350. I had to fact check 350 days because he beat Kofi, and I think in my mind when you beat Kofi, and it was just because of that storyline of the Shield, and he kept it. It really didn't really do much with it. So it wasn't. He said, "No, I agree. It wasn't a memorable run for him." I felt like his white strap Intercontinental. I remember more of that than I do his United States because he was just holding it. And I
yeah,
know that United States title and Intercontinental title has had those moments where it was just default or just hold it because we don't really have a storyline. But Dean was so a pivotal part of the Shield, whether they had the title or not. I remember Roman and Seth, the tag team raid, because they were doing stuff. They were in those high profile matches that you're like, oh, what are they going to do? And
Absolutely.
I didn't think that. I personally thought Seth would have been the breakout star because he was the single star that I knew before Moxley and Roman. So I was like, okay, it's got to be Seth. If anybody gonna give him a title, but I'm like, oh, is Seth helping Roman? Because I didn't know much about Roman at the time when he debuted. Because what's his name, Joe, or what was his name in FCW? They were still trying. I mean, in NXT,
It,
they were trying to
it
figure
was
out a
still Roman,
character for
wasn't it?
him.
It was still
Yeah,
Roman.
because remember they were trying to figure out a character for
He
him.
came out with the suit and all that. Yeah, talking smack. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so he said they all won the same night at Extreme Rules. Is that when
Okay.
they Dean got in the ring because he won his title first earlier tonight? Then they got in the ring and instead of the fist bump, they were holding the belts. Um, that's how I felt with Austin Theory's run as well. Both runs, he was just holding the belt. Let's call it what it is. It was here. Hold this belt. We don't know what to do. You're okay. Just hold this belt because you're supposed to be the next up. But it didn't help because we didn't have these type of moments that we did with these other guys that were coming up with the belt. Like
I
even
feel
when
I feel like Austin should have had a better run. To be honest, I like him as a superstar, but I don't know what is needed for him to excel. Just
mhm,
to strive to be the best that he could possibly be out there and get that crowd interaction and whatnot. But I'm a huge fan of Austin Theory, and I hope he can figure it out somehow, some way, because he can do some damage out here. To be honest.
I'm not opposed to him. I just think that his problem was Sheamus always is going to have a good dance partner, right?
Hmm.
Damian Priest and Finn Balor were good dance partners because we saw that in NXT. And
Yeah.
now when Finn took it from Damian, it was like that was perfect. We knew they would have a good match. When Theory took it from Finn Balor, we were like, oh, because he's the chosen one. It didn't feel like it was the natural progression. It just felt like, oh, yeah, because he's the next one up in that division. And even when he took it from Seth, we were like, okay, we're not gonna play on the disciple thing. We're not. Oh yeah, because we were stupid wrestling fans at the time under a different regime that
Right.
we can't
Right.
say that they have history, and we sent him back to NXT to be with the Way and not with Seth. But okay, we're gonna act like that didn't exist. So,
Absolutely.
and it's crazy because I think the point I want people to understand is the WWE United States Championship is more than just a piece of gold or it's not just a strap or a belt. It has some attachment that's going to continue. And
Hmm.
before we get into the ladies one, let's hear something real quick from our sponsors. We're gonna talk about the introduction next one, but let's take a quick moment. You want to eat like a champion? Check out Mr. Fries, located on 419 York Road in Towson, Maryland. If you go in and just use the promo code championship, you'll be able to eat like a champion. Once again, save 10% by going over to Mr. Fries and using the promo code championship. Make sure you tell them that the championship culture boys sent you. And remember, every belt has a story. Oh man, brother here.
Hmm.
Did you see them bacon ranch ones in that corner? This is why my back is big.
Hey,
Hello, chicken and shrimp. That's why my gut is big.
that steak and
Um,
shrimp one look good. Yeah, I mean, like I checked them
oh
out
man.
the other day. I
And,
was like,
and you
yeah,
know they and you know they got certain nights that it's late night. They still went to like one on certain days.
I know.
I know. So I'm just telling you.
That's why I
And
stay
you can
away from
always
Baltimore.
and like people be like, oh, you can't get a parking spot. I'm like, I get a parking spot every time. Because everybody
You'll
has a
find
story.
one if you want one.
You
Yeah,
listen,
you know what I mean?
you might go down and turn back around, but somebody coming out. Because
Hey.
trust me, you gonna want to try it. All right, that was my fat man moment. Sorry. So WrestleMania weekend, we were in Philly. We
Hmm.
were sitting at that. First off, let me just talk about how great that show was
That's
at
Brian's favorite
NXT,
city,
right?
right?
Yeah, that's his
That's
favorite city.
that's Hollywood's
Yeah,
favorite city. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Brian H. Waters. Um, I'm gonna just like I did kind of
Boy,
make a face. I said, "What's in that?" I did look at it. I was like, "What's in that?" He was
yes,
like,
you
"It's
did.
good. It's good." You
It
and
was good
your
though.
birthday to it. I was gonna say y'all tore that up.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't.
was good.
Uh, but ironically, the founder was there too.
It was
So
like a Jamaican patty. My bad. It was like a
Yeah, it
Jamaican
was.
patty, and you know, I'm
Mhm.
part Jamaican, so
It was like on a Tuesday. I
yeah.
am. But WrestleMania weekend, right? We were in Philly.
Uh-huh.
We were watching NXT, and I get really excited when we get new belts. When the WWE introduced the NXT Women's North American Championship, I was like, oh my gosh. First off, they not only said the strap matters, they made the strap white, they put some red on it, and put some little stones around it, right? They made it
Uh-huh.
like, oh, this thing is because on the picture, we didn't see all that detail, right?
No, you
Even when
sure
we
enough
broke it
did.
down, I remember I ran out to the stand to see if they were selling it because I was like, man, I might just slide a card because that thing is, the North American title is one of my favorite titles.
Yeah.
But WWE has this thing about tournaments, but they did the inaugural champion was in a ladder match, kind of like similar to what they did for the men. And I'm saying this, it's focused on the NXT Women's Championship. I'm sorry, NXT Women's North American title, saying it's the same focus as they did for the men. Because remember, the first inaugural men's champion was decided in a ladder match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, who I got a question for you. Yes, we know the North American title was the first mid card, but the first on Raw SmackDown was the United States. Why do you think the WWE decided to introduce the women's United States Championship now as opposed to the women's Intercontinental?
To be honest, if you look at the time, look what's going on. Is it? We just had an election, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Veterans Day just passed. Why not represent
And
America? That's the best way to say it. Look here, America. That's it. Straight up. See, but that will drop it on July 4th, right?
it is a long time away. But now here's
Absolutely,
the next
absolutely.
question: how does the women's United States title reflect almost like a change in the attitude towards women's wrestling? Because more and more, I know we at the wrestling realm really don't like to say the men's match or the women's match. We just want to see good matches, right?
Yes.
And it seems like now, and I've told you this, and this is I want you to answer the question. I want people to know where I'm coming from. If you look at the way that women have been debuting, returning, starting the show, closing the show, they're on equal footing with the men, or sometimes they're presented a lot better than the men. And I'm gonna just give you an example. How Delta, I'm sorry, Arya, I'm gonna just call her Delta. Everybody know the way that Delta debuted, her lead up with her vignettes, the way that she debuted, everything about it felt like a major deal, right? So now with this title, we talk about why the United States title is so important to the WWE, dating all the way back to three promotions. How do you
75.
think this? Yeah, how do you think this is changing the way that we look towards women's wrestling? Because we said the Women's United States Championship. It's on a
Well,
white strap. It's
yeah.
beautiful. It's I don't have one because it's not on WWE Shop yet, but I do have the men's one, right? But now, how do you think? How does the United States title, I'm sorry, the Women's United States title, reflect a change in an attitude towards women's wrestling?
Another good question, brother.
I tried to
Mm.
I tried to give you the breakdown as to where I'm coming from as I hold the belt.
You know what's crazy? I knew what I was gonna say, but you had kept talking, so I forgot it
Oh,
all.
okay. All
But
right. I'm gonna take it away then. I'm
hold
gonna
on.
tell
So
you
hold
this.
on.
Okay.
It's great that the U.S. title is being introduced. I would say first because if you break down the lineage of the U.S. title and maybe like the IC title, I would say the U.S. title that was one of the first prestigious titles out there at that point in time, right? Starting in '75, the IC title didn't come to '79, so maybe that's the reason why they came out with the U.S. title first, right? Has a little bit more of a lineage, a little bit more of a history through three different brands, right? As far as elevating the status of women's wrestling, it's kind of tricky because usually, like I said earlier, your wrestlers or your superstars make the title, right? In this case, for the longest time, we've had trouble with booking women's wrestling, right? So in this case, I feel like they're using the introduction of this championship to help make more space or give more time to the ladies, if that makes sense. They're doing it in reverse. Because as you see now, hopefully I'm hoping that this title right now, I don't know when the IC title, if it's coming. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know when that's going to get introduced, but hopefully this title floats between each brand. That would be nice to see, so everybody can get a chance at it. Kind of like what the tag team championship is doing right now. But I would say right now this U.S. title, like they got some names to it. This gives some people some chances to come back and show what they can do. You got people like Blair Davenport who's not being used, right? You got, I know Kiana's on Raw, and I don't know what's going on with her, but you have her. You have people like that. You possibly have a Roxanne who could come up later on when she loses the title and does what she does in NXT. Then you have your vets like Mia Yim. You have your Naomi's, your Chelsea Greens. All these people that need time, that deserve time, that are old time, like they have an opportunity to do it because they don't have enough time to put them in legitimate storylines, individually. That's
Did you see
that's the
where
re-
Hollywood
that's the
said
reason.
she's hurt? I didn't know she was hurt.
Is she still hurt?
Yeah, he said she's hurt.
Okay, I thought it was something else. But
Nothing to do with her.
right. But you even have Charlotte possibly coming back. I mean, I
Well,
mean,
let me pause you on that, right? Because I want to
mm-hmm,
address this with Hollywood is saying, right? This is the match that we need. This is the match that we want.
mm-hmm,
I think that we want either. I would be happy with either outcome, right?
yeah,
Because I believe Chelsea Green has paid her dues, but so has Miriam. And when I say paid their dues, they have elevated the women's roster, no matter if it's Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. That that would be a perfect because Triple H is definitely doing the thank you to the people that have been supporting, right? Um,
Candice LeRae with the speed.
right, like that's the thank you for what they've done. He's giving them their I don't want to say flowers because flowers are saying we're celebrating you, but he's letting them have these moments where their name can be etched in history. The good thing about introducing the North American women's title first is only because the roster was in depth. It had a lot to it, right? And here's the thing: think about when Becky Lynch went to NXT and won the NXT World Championship. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it was a secondary belt or
It
third. It
didn't.
felt like, but now imagine if she did that for the North American, or let's say Kyrie Sane goes and wins the North American title. It still feels like a big deal. And now when you have three brands, it can be anywhere. Or imagine the North American champion and the United States champion, the two women's champion, and the tag team champions all at a basketball game. You're like, holy crap! Look at those women. They are big deals. That's the champions because you see the men with the title at different places. Now it gives them an opportunity. And the fact that now we're going to have this U.S. title. Crazy part is, where's SmackDown going to be? Which network?
It's on USA, right?
And how is Triple
Supposedly.
H booking? Yeah, how is Triple H booking shows? They're starting to feel like pay per views. They're starting to feel like weekly
Mm-hmm.
pay per views.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be able to say I can put even my male or my female champion on the pay per view and still have the title match on the show?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying the women can
Yeah,
float and the women can be
they
part of
can.
any part of the legacy, right?
It's a strong
Um,
division.
so he said, you know what he's talking about, right? You want me to do it? Dude, look what he's talking about. Your favorite wrestler. No, nothing. Okay. Hate to say it, but Charlotte could come back and get it and build it
Look,
up, which is a since
facts.
make her a Grand Slam champion or start being one of the women's IC gets introduced. I think she probably could go for either one because her dad had both.
Mm-hmm.
To keep that attached to her dad's legacy. Um, it's a good way to keep her from the world titles, but they did that
Who
with Indy Hartwell, and it was definitely a thanks for being here. Here you go. Never
who's
mind,
the
you're going
best
now.
person to win it though? Right off top,
I would. So
because
I'm
I
stuck
mean,
between
uh,
Chelsea and what you call it. I'm really
uh,
stuck between Chelsea and Mia.
for the first championship, like the first to do it.
So the first one, I would lean more towards Mia because I feel like when Chelsea get it, Chelsea's gonna have a custom one. Like I feel like Chelsea would do something like make the strap a different. You know what I mean? I feel like she would do something to it,
I don't
not in a
know.
bad way. I feel like
Yeah,
she would have to do something with her gimmick that
she
is
would make it relevant. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And I feel like Chelsea would literally be on. She would do the media rounds. She would say, you know, your champion is here. You know, she would make it like, oh, she's more important than the actual WWE Women's Champion. Like I feel like she would do something that the first title holder couldn't. But
Okay.
that's why I'm like I'm torn between them because I want either one of them. I just hope it's not something like, and you know I love her to death. I hope it's something not. I hope it's not like Bailey gets it first.
Right.
You get what
Well,
I'm saying? Like,
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you feel like it's gonna be all right? It's levels to superstardom, right?
hmm
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you got like Naomi, who's slightly above where Mia Yim and Chelsea is, kind of just slightly, right?
because
Why
she's
would
been a world champion. She's
exactly
been main event and stuff. She's been at the top of the mountain.
right? And she hasn't had a title for how long now?
Ooh, since she left TNA,
What
but
if
since she left WWE, has been what was it, 19?
yeah? I kind of see them putting a title on someone like her for the first go around. You see what I'm saying? Because now that she's solidified in the history books as look, this is the U.S. champ. This is the first one. This is the other things that she did. Plus, it's a thank you for you've been here for a while.
And you've been
You
putting over
came
the other
back and
women.
you've been right. And not to mention, you got the what they call them the Power Buff girls,
Yeah, the Powerpuff Girls with the
the
tag
Power
belts,
Buff
and now
girls
she
with the
has
tag belts, and then her with the white strap U.S. Why not make the money while they still have the tag titles because they're teasing some little foolishness over there
dissension.
right now. Yeah, yeah. But that's what I was gonna get to because I see people on Twitter just talking about, of course you got your Mia's, your Naomi's, your Chelsea's. And I'm like, all right, well, who would be the perfect candidate to be the first women's US champion? And I'm talking about star power, cross appeal. I mean, yeah, all that stuff.
So I would definitely say Naomi because you could put Naomi in front of movie premieres. You could
Hmm.
put her in front of the Today shows. You could put her on those media runs because she's done that before and
Yeah.
she knows how to carry it. But she has a look that's going to bring eyes to the product.
Hmm.
And I'm still waiting for the title to glow. I need the title. I need that. When she was SmackDown Women's Champion, it was glowing. It was
Yeah.
perfect. They should have sold that, but that's what I'm saying. On the first run, probably not. Um, but Mia Yim, she could do the media runs. They can put her on the red carpet. Now, is she a name like Naomi? No, she's a name in wrestling, but Naomi could have crossover appeal, probably better than Mia, but not as good as Chelsea's going to command the attention no
No,
matter where she
absolutely.
goes.
Absolutely. That's why I
Chelsea's going
said
to feel like she's the most important. She's going
she
to be the
doesn't
most
even
important thing.
she doesn't even need it to be like the first person. Like she can get it anytime and make it relevant. Like make it feel good. You make you feel good, right?
hmm
That's my thing. I wasn't sure if like I love me and Yemi. You know I do. That's my homegirl. But is her her name big enough? You see what I'm saying?
To be attached to
To
this
be
important
the
legacy of the
first
United
title,
States. And
the first
you know what?
person. And I
It
would love
might
for her to
it,
grab it for sure.
it might have to be because think about it. When we talk about the all right, let's think about this. Who was the first ever North American champion for NXT?
It was Are you talking about women's?
Men.
I don't even know. You got me on that.
See my point?
Yeah.
And he was the biggest star outside of Ricochet in that match. If you really think about it, Adam Cole.
Dang, it was Adam Cole, wasn't
But think about it, outside of him and Ricochet, they were the biggest names in that match, right?
it? Mm-hmm.
So now, fast forward to the women's title, that was to establish these NXT stars Mia Yim was the biggest name in that match, right?
Natty about to win that bad boy. You know what's gonna happen.
But like
She
to
has
your
to be the
point,
first to do everything.
but to your point, does she have all of that crossover appeal?
No, she don't.
She's in wrestling spaces. You know, in wrestling spaces, absolutely. Walking
Right.
legend. You get what I'm saying? Like bona fide Hall of Famer. When she decides she's done, Hall of
Mm-hmm.
Famer probably going to do road agent stuff and keep on working with the girls. You know, and or the women as they, which I don't know which one would be the proper term because I hate to say girls, I hate to say women. You know,
Well,
different things.
mm-hmm. I think she'll get
But
it down the line. Like I said, like Amia, Chelsea, Natalia, whoever else. Like I see them getting it down the line. But the first person, you see what I'm saying? Like, am I making sense?
yes, because I'm saying I wanted as much as I wanted for Bailey because remember Bailey was the first ever
Yeah,
Grand Slam Women's Champion.
yeah.
She was the first one, you know, this would be now granted she didn't get the North American title, but if she gets this and then decides I'm gonna go down to NXT next year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and pump some energy into it, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm just nervous about it going to, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, to like a Oscar or a Bailey, you know, already established stars that
Right.
we know could carry it, could be prestigious, and we miss out on the fact of somebody else that could get into their own and then make it their own.
Yeah.
And then when they drop it, it makes sense that they dropped it to a Oscar or a Bailey and Naomi. Like as much as I want Mia Yim or Chelsea, it might wind up being Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that's where it's the potential comes. Does this title shape the women's wrestling? Because honestly, we know it's going to always be the world champion, the WWE champion,
Mm-hmm.
because of the history of this belt. And now we're saying women, you're going to have the same opportunity to make the history, write the history, be part of the history. What what better belt to introduce that first on the and I don't want to say main roster because that feels like NXT is lesser. But when we say actual main roster, because a lineage that goes back to 1975, now you're gonna have a chance to edge yourself. I mean, edge your name into it. Like when Becky Lynch was the first SmackDown Women's Champion, that now is considered the Raw, the World Champion because the
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown title became the World Championship, right?
Yeah.
And the Raw went back to being the WWE Championship.
And
Um,
Twin
so
said, "What
we're
about Jade?"
so
Only reason I didn't mention her because I'm not sure what's going on with this tag team situation and how long and like when this tournament's going on and when the actual unveiling of the new champion is going to happen. But I'm assuming that Jade and Bianca they're going to be busy at least up until Royal Rumble, right?
hmm
Elimination Chamber with the tag team titles. So that's why I didn't put her in there. But I mean, definitely she's a good pick too. She
I don't
doesn't
think so.
necessarily need the big dog, the big title right
I
away.
don't. I don't want Jade. You know
I don't
why?
want to.
Because
I don't
then,
think she needs the title at all right now, at all.
and the only
Besides
reason
the
I'm saying
tag
this
title.
for belt reasons, I believe if you put this on Jade, people always going to compare this to her TBS title reign.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, she was the first ever TBS champion. She was undefeated for this time. But then look, the WWE have failed her. Or oh, WWE is doing her right by giving her a title and showing AEW. Like it's always going to be that comparison. Let her
yeah.
get it later on. She doesn't have to be the first.
But it's not a bad idea though.
No,
For the
it's not.
first, she's a big enough star, right?
She fits in all those spaces that we
She
talked about.
does. She does.
Commercials, movies, roadshow, red carpets, you name it. She checks all the airport tests. I mean, remember we saw the picture of her and Britt Baker, and she looked like she was the world champion. Britt Baker looked like she was the secondary champion. Remember those pictures?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Um, yes, this is what I'm afraid of. Becky coming back to get it, and Becky would get that pop.
Yeah.
Becky would be a perfect person for it, but the crazy part is Becky has all the accolades. She would be a good person, kind of like when a world champion goes back to the Intercontinental title, it brings a different energy back to it. This belt is already going to have energy to start. It's a matter of, okay, how are we gonna play this out for people, right?
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Now, I know Brandon wouldn't like it, but What if Roxy loses if she could get it? Um, I'm still not gonna like that because you lose one belt to get another. I don't like that kind of trade off. Like if I lost the WWE Championship, then I jumped over to the World, or oh man, I just lost my World title. Let me go for the secondary title.
That means you upgrade though.
I don't
And
like that.
she's getting promoted. You know what I'm saying? She's on the main roster. She's already the prodigy. You know what I mean? She's holding down NXT for a reason. That's the reason. The whole reason she's still down there, right?
She's
Because
holding down. She got to stay there at NXT. But all the accolades is what you want. With Bill, the first ever Grand Slam champion means something as well. But here's the thing: if Bailey gets this belt first, then it's okay. She's still the first ever grand. They're going to come up with a new way for a Grand Slam champion, right? But if somebody else gets it, it gives Bailey something to look forward to and something to
exactly,
aspire to.
exactly.
Like she doesn't need it first. We need something longevity. Now Bailey is nowhere near the end of her career, but this could be a thing where stars like Lita and Trish could come back and say, "This belt didn't exist. Let me get one more run.
Oh
I had to be
God.
world champion. Been there, done that. I can do this and have a short. I have a short title run. Ric Flair did it, and Roddy Piper when they were tag team champions. A nostalgia pop. Didn't have it for long, but they had it. Ric Flair
Yeah,
was Intercontinental champion. Wasn't long, but he had it. I'm just so keep that in mind. But we talked
it's
about
unlimited
this.
possibilities, but they still don't need to be number one.
So as we
Mhm.
look towards the future,
Yeah,
brother, how do you see both the men's and the women's United States title evolving? Does it become more important than the world title?
no.
Does it become the focal point of the television show while the world title becomes part of the PLE?
I mean, yeah, it's already being presented that way. To be honest, it's been like you said, Triple H. He's been doing it for a while now. The PLEs, that that five match setup is working for him. So 9 times out of 10, those are designated for your big storylines, which don't include a mid card title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually those mid card title matches are designated to the go home shows, right? So
Or
I
to open
mean,
the show.
but yeah, yeah, right. So I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it would never be as prestigious or on the same level as the heavyweight title or the world heavyweight championship or whatnot. But it would definitely help elevate that mid card division for sure. The guys like LA Knight who you think he should be in the world title picture or the WWE championship picture, you might be able to throw him in there every once in a while like you did when you needed somebody to face Roman. But let's be honest, I don't think he's the guy to be champion for a decent run. You know what I'm saying? Because you have too many elite superstars on that level right now. You see what I'm saying? So now that's when you have a guy like him who can help build that division and be the top dog of that division. He's kind of like what Kane was back in the day. He's that swing man, right? Kane
Mm-hmm.
can go mid to the lower card, then go up. Next thing you know, he's in elite status, challenging for the heavyweight championship. That's what an LA Knight could possibly do for that division. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, we just gotta wait and see. The booking has been pretty good so far as with the men. It's been better, much better, especially with LA Knight as champion. It started with Logan Paul though, but I'm just eager to see what's going on with the women. See how they're gonna book these ladies.
We're not going to talk about that because we see what happened with Austin Theory
I ain't even think
wasted.
about I ain't even think about
Uh,
Tiffany.
I hope not, because who was booking NXT at the time when um, they awarded Dakota Kai and Raquel with the tag belts, and then at the end of the night, it wanted to be a Shotzi and Ember. Remember that? You might not even
Mm,
watch NXT, though, but it was literally here's the belts at the beginning of the night, and then they drop.
yeah,
I can't stand it because I feel like okay, now we're gonna see this, but just give it to them at first. I
Tiffany.
think Tiffany would be better suited to wait for that World Championship or that
Yeah,
WWE one.
yeah,
If she don't cash in at War Games, which would probably be the best time, War Games. Because everything will be going on, and I feel like Rhea's going to do something to what you call it. There's a perfect time that she could cash in,
Hmm.
but I hope she doesn't go towards this. Now, honestly, if she didn't have the money to bank briefcase, perfect title.
Yeah, yeah,
Annoying heel that can go everywhere and demand that she be in a position that she's not. Like, why am I not open the show? Why didn't I get to meet? Like, you can literally play off social media posts of her saying and doing things with this title. But it's definitely going to build a legacy.
hmm,
It's definitely the United States title is definitely a important title, and I love the fact that they introduced this one first. And I think it was on our ladies' night show featuring Stephanie Hardy when we talked about this. Women's Intercontinental, Women's WWE, and we said that's the name we wanted was Women's Intercontinental and Women's United States because it puts them on the same playing field. The only
right,
difference in the belt, besides it being a white strap, I don't know if you noticed, they just put women
right across
right
the
here at the
yeah,
top.
yeah,
And I was like, unless you're really paying attention, it looks like a belt on a white strap and a belt on a black strap. So we're equal. We're both a secondary champion, but we are both a champion that matters. It's not like we got three secondary titles and you trying to figure out which one is the top belt. It's
hmm,
no. This is the show. We are the secondary champion, and it doesn't matter which one is which because we're the secondary title for our division. Um, Women's Netflix champion. I think they're gonna go with the Intercontinental. I really think they're gonna go with the Intercontinental. But the problem I'm gonna have with the Women's Intercontinental, if you do a white strap, that's gonna be too. It's
what you mean?
gonna it's gonna make people think, well, why didn't we get the men's one on white?
What you mean?
So if you do the Women's Intercontinental title on Monday Night Raw,
Right.
everybody's gonna compare it to this.
I mean,
So
that's gonna happen anyway.
yeah, I don't hate a red strap, but I think the problem that we're gonna have with a red strap is that's the only women title that's not going to be white. Every other
It's
women's
not
title is white.
TNA.
You're going to say red strap. Does the strap matter? Red strap for Netflix. I mean, what if they did a white belt and did the globes red on the Intercontinental? Would you hate
Um,
that? Because they changed it. They changed the North American a little bit. Remember, they put the red on there
hmm.
for the women. NXT don't even have red, so why not? And I know people are mad they didn't do the blue paint on it, but it's okay. It's fine. It don't need the blue paint. I mean, it needs the blue paint, but I'm okay with it because the gold and the white stars pop better. So
I'm just interested to see when they're gonna introduce that IC title, if it's coming.
I think it's going to be in that first show on Netflix. When they go to Netflix, that's what they're going to introduce because it makes too much sense. Remember how we was WWE Championship, then World Championship? It was like, oh, it's just white. Yay. Oh, here it is. He's in the ring with the black thing covering it. Come
But
on,
this
give us what we.
but this US title is definitely the trial run for everything. On Raw, I mean they got so many factions. Is there any like single women out there on Raw? To be honest.
What's her name? The Valkyrie. I mean, Live Valkyria.
Oh, dang! I forgot she was there.
I think she's.
See,
See, I think she's the only one that's not in a faction. Because you got Pure Fusion Collective, not the Boys, Damage Control, the Powerpuff Girls, and who else? Where is
um,
Candice LeRae? She on her
the
own on
the,
SmackDown
the,
now.
the party girls over there.
Oh yeah, they just we see them once every 6 months.
But that's it. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay,
But I'm excited. I
I
think
am
this
too.
leads. I think this leads to women pay per views or PLEs, Evolution Part Two. Um, Possibly only a all women's show, weekly show. Who knows? I don't know.
So, do you want an all women weekly show, or would you want just an all women pay per view?
I would prefer the PLE, to be
Because I feel
honest.
like if it's good wrestling, it should be good wrestling on the show, and not the way that NXT is doing it. It's almost to the point that it's like half and half.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think Raw and SmackDown, and I know I'm gonna get flack for saying this, because storylines need multiple segments, it take away from the wrestling that we're getting. Because a storyline will have 3 or 4 segments, and I'm like, if you just cut out 2 of them, and you could have gave us one more match, but I guess he doesn't want to sacrifice a short match for a segment. You know, and that's I think what's going to hurt in the long run, having
Yeah,
these extra titles. But the way that he does social media, I hope with
he's gonna
Netflix,
make it work.
yeah, it's going to be I don't want to say the tail of the tape, but remember how you used to be able to see how did we get here? Or look, let's talk about this rivalry, or you got to tune in here to see what happens with it. So, sorry, you we both y'all.
I know, right? It's all
You see what
good.
he
It's all
said?
good. Nah,
We
what he
think I
said?
like twin. We
I
need
know.
a
You see
twin
it?
champion.
I just read it as soon
That's
as I
funny.
said it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was said about the. I do think it's well overdue time for at least a women's pay per view, but I would like it with a twist, and this is what I mean by a twist. If you do a women's pay per view, have
I
I don't
wish
want
I
to
could
say
do that.
gimmick matches,
I can't do that.
but have the. We need. I hate you. Give us like a ladder match, a TLC match, a Hell in a Cell. I'm not necessarily Hell in a Cell, a steel cage match in that. Don't just have just straight women wrestling or a lumberjill match. Give us something just like you would for the male, well, for the regular pay per views. You know what I mean? Like they always have some kind of gimmick. Now I don't like street fights at all. So no, you know, was man or women, I just don't like street fights because I hate when I'm watching wrestling and I tense up like, ooh, are they okay? You know what I mean? Like I don't like certain spots because I'm like, ooh, you know, I
I
don't
love
like
that.
the
I love
cringe.
that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Being
like
being ringside for so many, man. When Joey Janela jumped off the daggone ceiling through
and
the
you're like,
table, I was like, bro, like, but I couldn't turn
what?
away because I loved it.
Right. And
I was
see,
like, oh,
but I'm okay with like a really good ladder match, and the women can put on some really good ladder matches.
mm,
Charlotte and Becky, that last women's ladder match was really good, and it didn't have a lot of cringy moments. But then you turn to when remember when Kyrie got a concussion and Becky threw under this thing was like sit there because you ain't right. She was trying to save her. I
yeah,
just I hate those type of things, but you know this type of match founder stays with Elimination Chamber. Let it stay there.
yeah, it's
Let
gonna
the
stay there.
women like Money in the Bank doesn't need to be a separate one. Even though I would love to see a 2 day Royal Rumble, um, I think that because I feel like watching 2 Rumbles becomes tiresome on the same day. I would love to see a 2 day one.
I thought it was gonna be like that, but going to the Rumble this year, it wasn't that bad at all,
It
honestly.
wasn't watching it. But I'm saying like when I'm sitting, I'm like, all right, come on now, all right, come on now. Same match, you know, the whole countdown thing. But I think I don't know. You think we proved our point that the United States title might
For the most
be
part,
more than just gold. It might be more than just gold
the belt of
because
honor,
it's
yes, sir.
definitely it's not one of my favorite titles, but it's one of my favorite titles to talk about because New Japan has probably one of the prettiest United States Championship, and I know there was prototypes. I know the realness is going to talk about the WCW belt was very pretty. I like well the 3 out of 5. I'm kind of teetering between the two, but it definitely has. I don't want to throw that word prestige out. I'm gonna just say it's more than gold. WWE has done a great job with it, and I think that's why we went with the United States Women's Title first. Not only because
So
it's on the USA Network, but because the roots that it could
I ain't even
have.
think of that. I ain't even think about that. But yeah,
Yeah, that's why I said where's it going to be at on the USA Network, and plus now you can have people floating. You could literally have people floating between shows and saying, "I want more than just. I don't have to be world champion. I can go after that one." Imagine somebody get drafted to SmackDown and they go instantly into a United States title program instead of a world title program. But
hmm,
yes, sir.
interesting.
What were you thinking? Because you put your thinking cap on real fast.
Oh no, I'm just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Just thinking about down the future. Like I said, it's probably gonna lead to all women's PLE. There's just different ideas going through the head right now of where they can take this and introduce, like how many more belts to introduce and if they need any more belts. Um, and just thinking about the different talent that they have right now, it just I'm in a happy place with it. Like I'm good. I'm good with it.
I'm going to give you an unpopular opinion though.
What's up?
If they introduced the Intercontinental title, I think they
Mm-hmm.
need to get rid of the tag belts. Ask me why they
Um,
need to get rid of the tag belts.
why is that?
Because you have too many Frankenstein tag teams that can now go back to singles, and I would rather see them as single stars more than together. Pure Fusion Collective. Do you really want to see them with the tag belts? There are three single stars right there in the making. Well, not in the making, that already are made single stars that you're like, we put them together and they did nothing. We didn't give them a tag team title run. We gave them a title shot, but it's always gonna be one odd one in that thing.
Well,
Piper Niven and Chelsea.
I don't think you get rid of the tag titles just for the specific reason that the men have tag titles, right? And you want to keep that equal playing field, right? And plus, you do, like you said, you do have a lot of Frankenstein tag teams, but you also still have a lot of ladies that's not going to get TV time, right? You can't just keep throwing what 6 man or 6 woman matches or battle royals for the U.S. title, right? Or the IC title every week, right? So you got to have something for somebody else to do. So then that's maybe when the party girls or damage control or when Oscar come back, the Kabuki Warriors they come back and they start to dominate and they help build other tag teams, right? The girls from NXT, TNA that's coming over, the ID, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think you get rid of the tag titles for that reason. I see where you're coming from though, but yeah, I don't think they get rid of it for that reason.
So if they truly floated between all three shows like they've been
Mm-hmm.
doing recently, I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with it. But the
Right.
problem is, if I'm seeing the same three or four teams, that's Vince McMahon booking all over again. Because I don't think that WWE has recruited women's tag teams. They've recruited women's wrestlers and made them tag teams. And I'm going to say this because remember, we had the Iconics, we had the Bellas, we had Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose who were put together that felt like they were a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler felt like that's the right tag team to put together. But remember, Tamina and Natalia didn't feel like they were the right tag team. The right tag team felt like your wife and Tamina. You know what I'm saying? Like when you put them together, it felt like they were the better tag team than Natalia and Tamina. But
Well, I feel like you're gonna get a lot of that though, like the Frankenstein tag team, the mixed match tag teams, because to be honest, there's not a lot of promotions out here with women's that promote women's tag team wrestling, right? They barely even have a women's division. The majority of them, right? So unfortunately, you're gonna get a bunch of individual women wrestlers or superstars, and you gotta piece them and put them together to make your tag division, right? That's what
mhm.
I mean. I don't know. Unless you have something different, that's the way I see it.
I'm not mad at that. They need to make more tag teams and have it go across all three shows like how Sasha Bailey originally intended.
Yeah,
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. All the tag team division should be on not just I'm a tag team on NXT and I'm waiting to get my title shot.
yeah,
It needs to just go between all three,
that makes
and
sense.
then if you are in the individual division, that's when you stay on Raw and SmackDown. Because I did like what they did with Last Legend and what you call it. I thought that was perfect. Put them on Raw, put them on SmackDown, showing who they are, and they actually having matches on Raw and SmackDown. That was perfect. Yes, they were NXT stars, but they were in the tag team division. Look, I like how we got on the tag team championship and we been talking about the United States America championship.
That's a whole nother show.
That is the women's tag team belts.
I love talking about women's wrestling. I ain't gonna lie.
It's getting better. It's not only getting better, it's getting more memorable. It's more. Those are becoming more my default. Let me go back and watch matches. Because you had that list of certain matches that you're like, let me go watch it because I remember this was good. I remember this. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah,
I'm finding myself going back and watching or going out and seek more women's matches because
yeah.
remember I told you about. I see why Tony Khan pulled Mariah May, but I think he pulled her too soon. I think he pulled it because he was right scared that she would have wound up in the machine. So she was up there.
I
She was
mean,
getting there.
I
But
don't really see it in Mariah May, but okay.
no, now you know. But you could see in her earlier stuff, you could see where she was getting there. You could see the progression of her. Tony Khan said, "Oh, come here, and because I don't want you to get taken up by the WWE." So,
Hmm.
oh, buddy.
Interesting.
Yep. So, Hugh, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me at HASTHE to 3RD on all social media platforms. And you can also find me at Championship Culture on
Mm,
IG at Championship Culture _. We're also on Wednesday nights. We're on the Wrestling Realm at Wrestling Realm. That's with 2 W's.
two
And
W's,
check us
not
out.
one but two.
We're on all social media platforms at or Wrestling Realm.
Two W's.
Check us out.
Good.
You know, we talk a little bit of wrestling. We have some good dialogue about some wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What
And
about
I'm
you,
gonna
brother
tell the.
Brandon?
Well, of course, you can just find me at Custom Guy on all these social medias. If you find me on Facebook, congratulations, you found
He said
one of the probably
congratulations.
27 branding guys out there. But if you look for Custom Guy 913, that's where you can find me. But make sure you hit that subscribe button. Always share your thoughts. And when you hit that subscribe button, you never miss a chance when we go live or notifications because you don't want to miss an episode of Championship Culture,
You don't.
right? Because
No.
if you're scared you're gonna miss them, guess what they can do? They can follow us where? He said it, but I want them to know where they can follow us. You can follow us on all social media platforms,
All of
right?
it.
All of
Hmm.
them. And don't forget, tune in. I can hear the pages turning on the real.
I know. I can't wait.
And I need to start marking parts of the show when I say I know realness going to have notes about this. Um, but don't forget, tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for our next episode of Championship Culture. Thank you all for watching. And remember, everybody has a story. Can't wait to hear yours.
Peace out, y'all.
You enjoying the show so far? Good. Go over to Instagram and follow us at Championship Culture _. And don't forget, check out youtube.com/The Wrestling Room. Look for the playlist for Championship Culture. And remember, every belt has a story.